Welcome to Game On, the best damn high school football show in Bucks and Montgomery counties, coming to you from the Courier-Times and the Intelligencer. I'm Jen Wilgus, your host for Game On, this opening weekend of the 2013 football season. Our team will be here each week throughout the season, bringing you an in-depth look at high school football both on and off the field. Joining me is sports editor Jeff Bideman, writers Dan Duncan and Drew Markle, and video reporter Mark Zamero. Together, we promise to entertain and inform you with game highlights, plays and players of the week, feature stories, and lively discussion about all things high school football. All right, enough with the intros. Let's get to it, gentlemen. Let's look at the season ahead and the bigger issues surrounding the sport in our first segment, Four Downs. Perhaps the biggest story in the off-season was the coaching change at Penridge and the school's very compelling decision to go ahead and play former coach Randy Cuthbert, who's now at Emmaus, in the season opener at Papa Yoder Field. Now, Drew, obviously there's a lot of off-field drama surrounding this game. Do you see it being a distraction for Jeff Hollenbeck and his guys?
Once the game starts, Jen, that all goes away and it becomes football, within 5 minutes into the first quarter.
Completely overblown. When you talk about a coach being a central figure in a game, it's really overrated. He's forgotten real quickly. He was there 8 years, very well known, but not what I would call an iconic figure to where it would, supersede the game. I think it'll, and half the kids won't even care. They were freshmen, sophomores under Cuthbert that, they didn't know him that well anyway.
Good point.
I thought it was a little bit disappointing early on when Randy made the decision to go to Emmaus, that there was some discussion that maybe the game should be put off, it shouldn't be played. If you still believe in the thought that sports are a great opportunity to educate kids and teach them lessons, this is a great opportunity for these kids to learn how to control their frustration, control their disappointment, maybe a little bit of their anger. I'm glad they're playing the game.
And the emotional edge going in absolutely goes to Penridge because for every year you talk with those Penridge kids, their biggest game is Quakertown. I talk with those kids this year, they all say it's Emmaus.
Oh, really?
For the Emmaus kids, that's not the case. For Penridge, this is the game.
Of course, you can't talk about high school football around here without discussing Archbishop Wood. The Vikings went back to the state title game again last year, and they've become such a juggernaut. But Jeff, is it fair to consider this season a disappointment if they don't get back to the championship game in Hershey?
Well, Jen, I think Steve Devlin and the Wood football program have nobody to blame but themselves. They've been to the state final 3 out of the last 5 years. They won it in 2011, so they've set the bar very high. But I do think it's probably a little bit overboard to say it would be disappointing if they don't win it again. But I certainly think there will be some disappointment in Warminster if they don't make a long run into the state playoff.
Regarding this season, they've got 4 preseason all-state defensive players. They always have people ready to plug in at running back. They got a very promising young quarterback. But so getting back this year is certainly a strong possibility. But year after year, what I'm impressed with Wood is not just the talent that they have. How many coaches have we seen that have not maximized their talent and have underachieved? That's never going to happen at Wood. They have perspective, and they know the way the kids work in the process day by day by day. It's a lesson that helps them sustain success over a long time.
And as a AAA program, they're not playing the heavyweights. Their big game comes probably in the Eastern Final against Allentown Central Catholic. It seems every year the winner of that game goes to the state final. Up until that point, they're going to do what they always do, and that is hammer a lot of teams.
Now, Bristol is coming off the best season in program history. You might remember last year there were rumors their school would close, but players channeled that uncertainty into a historic state playoff run. Now, Dan, I know you witnessed the end of that run, unfortunately, against Dunmore. How do you think Leo Plensky and his Warriors will kind of build on what they did last year?
Jen, they were a great story last year. They can be even better this year. Special running back in Dante Simmons, only a junior. Even more skill players at receiver this year. Trevor Leone, a really developing quarterback. The big question is their offensive line. They have a lot of size, but a lot of new guys playing new spots. So I was out there at practice the other day, and I got a sense they're really working hard. I really got a sense that they want to, they have unfinished business and they really want to get back past where they were last year. They can do it.
Dan, it's interesting. Everybody wants to talk about Bristol's offense and the points they can score, but I think the key for them this year is going to be their defense. In their 2 losses last year, they gave up 30-plus points. For them, it was good that in the playoffs they were able to turn one of them around, one of their early season losses. They cut down the points that they gave up, and they won the game. I think if they're able to do that come playoff time, I think they've got a chance to make another long run this year.
And you can't measure the experience that they gain in that loss to Dunmore in a very chippy game in front of 4,000 people who did not really care for them, that they're going to come back and maybe be in that spot again. And then if they are, that they're going to know that they can play well.
Neshaminy starts the year ranked in the top 10 in the state, which isn't much of a surprise given the history of the program. But Dan, do you think these Redskins are going to live up to those expectations?
No doubt they have a chance to be very special. They have a great junior class, now seniors. They're hungry. They want to get over that hump. They lost 4 games each of the last few years. Question is going to be quarterback. Can they get an established quarterback? They can throw the ball more. They've got the running game. They've got everything you need. They got to prove they can throw it a little better this year. I look for Neshaminy to stay healthy. Look out.
Dan, I put little stock in preseason rankings because every year there's basically the same teams just reshuffled up and down the list. But this Neshaminy team, there is the experience. They got 2- and 3-year starters, which is rare in high school football. They learned from their loss against Coatesville in district final last year. They're going to be very good.
Well, that's a great transition into the first installment of our Inside the Game series with our insider, Mark Zamaro. Mark, what have you got for us this week?
I visited Neshaminy High School's training camp to see what makes the Redskins a contender year after year. At Neshaminy High School, football victories seem to come in bunches, and the 2013 season should be no different, as expectations remain high at the Redskins practice camp.
I think we're starting off probably with the bar a little bit higher. I think we always try to strive to be as good as we can be, and this year I think every coach here knows that, or thinks that we can, if we do that, we can have some success.
Coming off a 9-4 record, Neshaminy is fueling up for another strong season. Led by senior tight end and defensive end Luke Carazola, the Redskins believe the sky is the limit.
I think everyone on this team knows where we want to go, what we want to do, and now we just have to go out and do it. We got to make plays, we got to come up big.
Practices are intensifying as the season draws closer, but Schmidt believes his veteran players can handle the pressure.
I think every day we're starting to pick it up a little bit. We threw a lot at them mentally, because we have some experience in a lot of positions, so we're throwing a lot more at those guys.
We're practicing with a real high tempo, and we got to keep that up and get better every day.
The Redskins are hoping the hard work pays off and continues a winning tradition that entertains large crowds on the weekends in the fall.
Once you're playing for the Redskins, it's a big deal in our town, and Friday nights is a fun time. And a lot of people adjust their vacations and adjust their free time. If they're going somewhere, they'll go later on. They'll go after the game, or they'll go the next day, and because they want to make sure they see the Redskins. And that's a real compliment, and it's a great feeling to have that kind of support, and a great feeling. And it's good to have that kind of pressure and those expectations.
The area returns several marquee players this season, but none shines brighter than Penridge's Mike Class, a first-team preseason All-State pick after 2 stellar seasons at running back. Here's a little more about Mike and the star power in the SOL Continental this season.
When Jeff Hollenbach was rehired as Penridge head football coach, he started his second go-around with a bit of a scare regarding star running back Mike Class.
There were a few weeks there where it was not clear on whether Mike would be back. There were some things that were going on just from an injury standpoint, and he is clear and everything is good. And I took a deep breath when I heard that. He makes people miss in the open field, and with him, one person misses and he's off to the races.
Class, who rushed for 2,418 yards and scored 32 touchdowns as a junior in 2012, dealt with some back problems in the offseason. but his rehab has gone well enough for the senior to set some lofty goals for his final year in a Rams uniform.
I mean, rushing for 2,400 yards, I think, is a hard thing to do. But my personal goal this year is to go for 3,000 and then just keep going from there.
Class also has high expectations for his team, which won its first Suburban 1 League Continental Conference title last year and went all the way to the District 1 Class 4A semifinals.
We're actually looking real good. I know we're in some spots we're a little bit shaky, and I know we're a little bit small in some spots too. But I mean, these kids they work so hard, and they give it 110% each play, and I think we're looking real good. I mean, it's going to be a real big season. I know a lot of people in the community are going to expect big things from us, and that's what we're going to give them.
Fans can expect big things from the entire league, because with Class and CB South's Josh Adams, the SOL Continental will boast two 2,000-yard running backs this fall.
It's unbelievable, really, to have that kind of talent level. I wish it was just us with Mike, but I've seen Josh on film and that kind of thing, and he is outstanding, among other excellent players, in this league. So people want great entertainment on Friday night. I just think these local high school fields are the place to be.
No matter how many yards he covers as a senior, Class hopes he'll leave a memorable legacy at Penridge.
I just want to remember just a humble kid with a good smile.
In this week's College Catch-Up, Mark brings us an exclusive look at a local player making a difference in college.
I hit the road this summer and visited Albright College in Reading to catch up with one of the Lions' premier players and a name well known around Harry S. Truman High School.
Albright College has good reason to be optimistic. The Lions are coming off an 8-3 season and possess a swarm of senior leadership. At the helm is free safety Drew Peterson, a Harry S. Truman graduate.
We got a lot of returning seniors. Actually have the biggest returning senior class in Albright history. I think we're returning 31 guys. So real excited about this year. We got, I think, 9 starters returning on defense, most of our offensive starters returning. So we're looking forward to a big year.
Peterson received first-team All-MAC honors last year and led the team with 4 interceptions. He returns kicks and is the spark plug of the Lions' defense.
Basically, kind of a free player back there. I get to use my instincts to play the game I love.
Playing high school ball at Truman gave Peterson the confidence to make it at the college level.
We had a good coaching staff there. Defensively, we ran a lot of the same stuff that we run here conceptually, so it helped out a lot.
We'll be hearing from Mark often throughout the season as he continues to check in with homegrown talent on college campuses throughout the state. And now it's time for our picks of the week. Each week, our panel of experts will be picking 5 games from the master schedule and offering their predictions for who's going to come out on top. All right, guys, first we have Penridge Emmaus. It looks like Dan's the only one who went against the Rams. What's your thinking?
Well, Emmaus has over half their defense back from the best defense in the Lehigh Valley Conference last year. I know everyone's making a big deal of the Cuthbert intangible, but he runs a very diversified offense. I think it's going to be an even game, a winnable game at the end with the defense keeping them in there. And Mike Class, as good as he is, I think Penridge has lost just enough. It's going to level the playing field. They've got a shot.
All right, Council Rock South at CB South. You guys all went with CB South, so let's move on to Easton Pennsbury. Dan, again, you're the only one who went with the Falcons. What's up with that?
The Breon Clark factor. The kid can really throw the ball as well as run. Their quarterback adds a great dimension to Galen Snyder's wing tee. I think as Pennsbury's defense gains experience, their offense is going to put some points up. I think it starts in week 1. High-scoring game. Pennsbury wins against a suspect Easton secondary.
I don't know, Dan. There's got to be some logic in here. Easton is one of the top programs in the state. They have been for decades. And I think the last time I checked, Easton had beaten them 3 years in a row. I'm taking Easton.
In this case, logic works. Easton, I've seen the past couple of games. Easton has the best player in running back Shane Simpson. He ran all over them last year. He'll do it again this year.
Archbishop Wood versus Ben Salem. Give Ben Salem credit for scheduling the Vikings, but you all went with Wood. So moving on to North Penn LaSalle, Drew and Dan both gave some love to the Knights in a really tough game. What was your thinking?
Well, Jen, people look at North Penn last year going 6-4, which is unheard of for them. Those 4 losses, the teams that they lost to went a combined 44-7 last year. Dick Beck has a nice group back. He always has the troops. that 6-4 was the anomaly. Keep an eye on the Knights all season.
Well, those are obviously just 5 of the games that are happening this weekend. You can find a full list of Courier Times and Intelligencer picks in the forecaster section of Friday's newspaper. Do you think you have what it takes to beat our experts? We'll prove it by sending your picks of the week to our Facebook page at HS Game On, and you could be featured in a future show. Well, now it's time for the segment we've all been waiting for, Blake's Take, in which Mark's mutt, Blake, sniffs out his winner in our Game of the Week.
This is Blake. We ran an experiment to have Blake choose the winner of our Game of the Week between Council Rock South and Central Bucks South. There you have it. Blake went against our experts and chose Council Rock South.
Well, we've had our fun. Now it's your turn. When you're at the games this weekend, take a picture of your friends or fellow fans going to great lengths to support your team and post them to our Facebook page at HS Game On, and you could see your team spirit featured on a future show. Well, that's our show for this week, but it's only the beginning of our extensive local football coverage. The Courier Times and the Intelligencer are your best source for game stories, photos, and videos, so be sure to check out Game On in the papers and online this weekend. During the games, you can follow us on Twitter at HS Game On, which is a one-stop shop for all our reporters' tweets out in the field, as well as everything using the HS Game On hashtag. I'm Jen Wilgus. For Jeff Bideman, Drew Markle, Dan Duncan, and Mark Samaro, thanks for hanging out with us this week. Now go ahead, grab a seat in the stands and watch some football this weekend. To all our coaches and players, good luck and game on.